Okay. All right, so the recording has started. Okay, so just be mindful, when I send out the emails on the MTSS network, when you reply, if you reply all, it's going out to everybody. So we have over 400 people in our network now, which is amazing. We have MTSS contacts, we have counselors, interventionists, superintendents that are all a part of our network, which makes us so happy. So just be careful when you reply. You want to probably just reply back to me. You don't want to do reply all because then everybody sees it. So just be mindful of that. Okay. All right. Let's go ahead and get started. So you see here my agenda. I've got a lot that I want to cover, and we have an hour. So I'm going to get through all of this, and don't worry if I'm going too fast, because you're going to get the recording and you'll get the slides. I'll send both of those to you, so you'll have it all. So this summer we got together and we decided to get MTSS contact names for all of our districts. It's just something that we had never done in the past. And we thought this is a good way to make sure that we have your updated information for your district. People that, if we have questions about how MTSS is running in your district, we know who to reach out to. And so the majority, it was like 92% responded, and y'all didn't just send one contact, but you sent in several contacts. So that's great. So it's really just to increase the MTSS awareness around the state. So we know that everybody is up to date on our policies, our procedures. And then, of course, I added them to our network. So they're getting the emails just like y'all have always been getting the emails. And if you're not sure, I have a list right here. If you're not sure if your district sent one or not, just send me an email and I can tell you if y'all sent someone in, just to make sure we have all our districts covered. Okay, so we went through the process of adding academic, state-approved academic interventions. We went through the process for behavior, and so we have a list of behavior interventions that are on the website, and I've got the link to it at the end of the PowerPoint. But we also knew it was important to have a list of academic interventions, and that was quite the undertaking because we had so many programs apply, and so we had to really dig into those and see which ones met our standards. And we did that through an RFQ process. So the purpose of the list is to provide y'all with a state-approved, evidence-based academic interventions. That is something that we have heard is a need from y'all. Just knowing, where can I go? What interventions are evidence-based? What interventions would you recommend? Things like that. And so up until this point, we haven't really been able to recommend interventions because that wasn't really a part of our role. But now that we have this list, this vetted list, now we can share this information with you. So we really hope that it will help the districts as they are making those decisions. So it's not an all-inclusive or exhaustive list. So that means if your district is using something that's not on that list, that's okay. You can continue to use that program. Think of this as a resource, just like What Works Clearinghouse. So we have What Works Clearinghouse. They have the interventions listed on there with the information. Same thing for us. We've got the intervention list. We've got the grade level that it covers, the content area. It's a place for you to go and get the information about the program. So it doesn't mean that you can only use the programs on this list. That is still a district decision. All interventions should be evidence-based. So as you're choosing that intervention program, keep in mind that you want it to have evidence-based, you want it to be systematic, explicit, and look for those things that it's going to be helpful to your teachers and your interventionists. So if it includes progress monitoring, if it includes a diagnostic assessment or a placement test, things like that. Those are things that you want to look for. So here I just typed up real quick the programs that are on there, and you see I have them listed, alphabetical order, grade level, the delivery method. So I'm not going to read all of those to you. This is also on the website. So you see it's quite a few here, the next set. And then, so all of those for the ELA reading literacy. And then we also have other subject areas. So you see here we have some that are just math, like Dreambox Learning is just math. But then you have ClassWorks, and it's math and science. So really look at that for your different grade levels and your different content levels. And I will tell you on the website, the link on the website gives you even more information. So this really is just a snapshot. And then here's the next list of the other subject areas. So like I said, you'll have access to this, so you can go back and see them all. I got a couple of questions about behavior screeners over the summer, and so I wanted to give you this. This is the same list. Bradley, you can't see the PowerPoint?
No, ma'am. It's been black for a little while, and I kept thinking, am I supposed to see something or not? But apparently I am, and I'm not. I see you clear as day, but there's no slides.
Same list that Ginger shared with y'all last year, but I know we have a lot of new people, so I wanted to make sure you had this as well. All right, the dyslexia screener dates, y'all know we update these every year just to go with the calendar. So the first grade date, so this is the date that you should have all of your first graders screened by for your dyslexia screener, is October 22nd. So that gives you a couple of months. Yeah, try that, Bradley. That gives you a couple of months to get the kids in there, let them get situated, and get them back in the rhythm of being in school. So, give them a little time. I would not try to screen them in August. Like I said, give them that window of time to get settled back in before you give them that dyslexia screener. Our kindergarten babies, you'll screen them by April 15th. And I think that may be an extra week or two than what I've given y'all in the past. And then submit by May 6th. Those are the dates for this year. We have not changed any of the dyslexia screeners, okay? So you still have Amplify, we still have Dibble, Fast Bridge Learning, Exercise, Mississippi College screener, and the William Carey screener. So we're at the end of that 4-year window. So we'll have to do a whole new process for our dyslexia screener. So, but don't worry about that right now. Right now, these are your screeners that you can use for your first graders. If anything, we'll have an updated list for your kindergartners, which we like to give you that list before kindergarten. That way, if you're going to choose a new screener, you start with your kindergartners and use that same screener in first grade. That way you're comparing apples to apples. But for right now, this is your list. So this is what you'll use with your first graders. And y'all know, anytime we procure a new list, it takes several months. So that's something that we're going to get started working on here in the next few weeks. So hopefully we'll have it ready by the spring for your kindergartners. Okay, so we have the new dyslexia awareness training bill that passed this last legislative session. And so it requires 4 hours of dyslexia training, okay, for all teachers, all paraprofessionals. So our office, we are going to provide this training. We're going to do 4 one-hour sessions, and we're going to record them, okay? And so you can sit down if y'all want to have a staff meeting, an afternoon staff meeting, and have them sit down and watch it all at one time, you can. Or if you want to do 1 hour this week, 1 hour the next week, however you want to do it, that's fine too. We're going to do the first 2 sessions. We're going to release those in September, and the second 2 sessions in November. The districts will have until the end of April to complete those trainings. So you'll have the whole school year. So like if you've got PD days that you're planning for January, I know a lot of districts take that first day back in January to do a PD day, then you can schedule, 4 hours in the morning and get your dyslexia training done. We are going to provide a certificate of completion. So when the teachers finish their 4 hours, they will get a certificate of completion, and they can also apply for CEUs. So it's just 4 hours. Okay, repeat that again. You want me to go back to the last slide? The dates. Okay, so we're going to do the first 2 sessions, September, second 2 sessions in November. You have until the end of April. And it's for all teachers, K-12, and paraprofessionals. So essentially anybody that's working with children, we want them to have this dyslexia training. And it's going to cover IDA, the International Dyslexia Association, they have, of course, a whole list of standards. But the way the bill was written, we have to cover the first 2 standards, which really is knowledge-based about dyslexia. And then the next 2 hours, we're going to make specific to Mississippi. Okay, good question, Crystal. Okay, so districts may request on-site training from the intervention team. So the way the bill is written, you have to have a master's degree in dyslexia therapy and be a certified academic language therapist. You have to be both. So Jada Brantley and myself, we both meet that criteria. So we are qualified to provide this training. If you have someone in your district, so you see here the last little section, the law does not specify that MDE is the only allowable training. So you may have someone come in your district and provide the training. So here is the information that they would need to complete. So someone other than MDE is providing the training. This is the information we need. A copy of their teaching license showing that they have their master's in dyslexia therapy. We need a copy of their current out certification, if they're current, up to date. And then we need an outline containing the content that they plan to cover for those 4 hours of the session. So once we have all of that and we approve that, the district will complete and submit a spreadsheet with all of the teachers who've completed the training. And then your district office will keep a copy of that spreadsheet as well. So it's up to the district. If y'all want to do our 4 hours of training, you can do that. Or if you want to have someone else do it, you can do that. But we have to approve it first. Okay. So you have to communicate that with us so we understand. We'll have someone else do it, and then we have to approve that they meet all of this criteria. Okay, so I want to go back to this and make sure I covered everything. So if you'd rather us come and do on-site training, we can do that. Jada and I can travel and come and do that. If you would rather have us face-to-face, like I said, if you're doing a PD day, we can do that. Or, of course, you can do the video series. We will have, yes. Yes, okay, Crystal. So we will provide you with the spreadsheet. So all of the districts will receive the spreadsheet. So the districts will know exactly the information that we need. And like I said, you'll send us a copy and you keep a copy. Teachers will get a certificate. The training has to be completed every 3 years. So for your teachers, your current teachers now, they would complete it this year. Then they don't have to complete it again in 3 years. You have new teachers coming on next year. Well, then you're going to need to get them together and have them watch it. So that's why we want you to keep a copy of your spreadsheet so you can keep track of the teachers in your district who received the training. Okay, once we record the sessions, we will send them out to the districts and the listservs, and then we'll also post them on the website. So you'll have access to them all year. Okay. All right, I'm going through my questions. Yes, we are recording the session. Okay, so this information, if you can, I'm going to send all of this to you, and then you can push it out to the schools at your district. Yes, okay, we answered that question. Okay, so Rachel, that's something we're going to have to look at if it's less than 5 hours, if we can do CEU. So I'm glad you brought that up. We have a list of questions that we have to find out when we get those logistics going. Okay. Okay, so the dates again, September, you'll get the first 2 hours. November, you'll get the second 2 hours. And then all teachers be trained at the end of April. Okay, and we're working on the spreadsheet, so we haven't even sent those out yet. So we'll get those out to all the districts as well. All right, any more questions? Okay, do they need to take any type of assessment after the training? That's something that we're going to build in. We're hoping to have it set up like with modules, and so the questions are built in. Really just doing like a knowledge check throughout, because we don't want it to be where, you know, you just turn on the hour session and walk away. So we really want it to be where the teachers are getting that information, you know, actively listening, because, you know, that's what it's all about. So they can get the information to help their kids. Okay. All right. Yes, it is K-12, teachers and paraprofessionals. So anybody that's working with students will go through the training. All right. Any more questions on that? If you got any more, you know, just drop them in the chat, and I'm trying to watch both. Okay. Yes, so good question, Michelle. Either way, if you want to send the videos to your teachers where they're doing it in their own time, you can do that. Or if you want to have, you know, like maybe it's something that they're doing during like a PLC or during their, you know, your faculty meeting after school, you can do that. You just, you know, you would have your sign-in sheet for everybody that was there, and then that's the information you would put on the spreadsheet just to make sure all of your teachers do meet that 4-hour requirement. So it didn't say administrators in the law. It just said teachers, paraprofessionals, you know, but I would definitely think it's good information for your administrators as well. I've got to look and see, Cindy, if it said pre-K. In my mind, I'm thinking it just said K-12, so that's something that we'll check and make sure we let y'all know. I would say yes to pre-K. I know just in our notes, knowing what we're preparing for, we're going to share information for preschool students, you know, how to identify really characteristics to look for with your preschoolers. So, you know, I would definitely, if you have preschool in your building, I would include them. Yeah. So you can watch it whole group. You can watch it in a whole group setting, and just make sure you have everybody's name. Yes, Kim. We'll make sure that we're giving you the certificates. Like once we get that list of names, then you'll get that certificate from us. Okay. So I have unread messages. Let me make sure I caught everybody. Okay. Okay, let me see. Our district is currently doing training, partnering with the Shelton School. K2 teachers are completing this. Is this okay? So it's got to be how it's listed out in the legislation. So it has to be those first two standards from IDA. So we have to make sure that we're covering that. And then, you know, the rest of it is like characteristics, strategies for teachers. So if you're wanting that to count, you would have to send that in to us so we could see if it meets the criteria. So yeah, make sure if that's something you're looking at for your K2 teachers, you send it in so we can approve it. Yes, Cindy, we'll generate the certificates. Yeah, we'll we'll get those to you, and then you get them to your teachers, so they'll have them.
What's your phone number?
Portfolio in their binder. Okay. All right. I'm going to move on.
033.
Asking questions, so I won't miss anything. Okay. We are working on a survey.
What is
Out,
his phone number?
to you, and it's really to just obtain general information on your MTSS process. It's just going to help us get a clear picture of what supports are needed in the schools and districts. And so, like, who is providing your interventions? Is it a classroom teacher? Do you have an interventionist? Is it a paraprofessional?
Okay.
Are you using a specific program, or is it more teacher created? It's going to be a survey like that. So I'm still working on that and getting that finalized, and then I'll send it out to you. Yes, Kim. So it will be, you will need to have that training, your dyslexia awareness training, by the end of April, because we want to make sure y'all get it in before the end of the school year. Okay, so family guides, we have them. So they are in bundles of pre-K through 8th grade. Okay. So like I said, we are traveling again. So we can come, and if we're in that area coming to do a training, we can bring the guides to you. If you don't need a bundle, and let's say you just need 3rd grade, we can pull those and get them to you. We have plenty to go around. So I've reached out to the Mississippi Public Libraries to get them set so they can have them in their libraries. And even with that, we still have plenty. So let's see. That. Okay. So if you need those, email me. Okay. They are free. They are guides that we have purchased for this purpose, to get them in the hands of teachers and parents and families. So all you have to do is email me, and you tell me if you want a set of pre-K through 8th grade, how many sets you want. If you want specific grades, tell me those grades and how many you want.
Hello.
Get them. Okay. There's not really a limit. As long as it's not too high. But just email me and I can tell you if that's something we can do, or if we need to lower it a little bit. But yeah, just email me and we'll figure it out. We don't have guides for the high school, and that is something that, we have talked about and we have gone back and forth, and we now have, MDE went for a while without having specific content area leads. But now we have a social studies coordinator, we have a science coordinator, language arts coordinator. And so hopefully that is something that we will get in the future. We knew it was a need back when we did this, when we stopped at 8th grade and having them that were just content specific, but we just haven't gotten there. Okay, I dropped my email. How many are in each set? So you get a set. There's one for each grade in the set. So you've got a pre-K, K, 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way to 8th grade. So if you want a set, you need to tell me how many you want. Yes, we have guides for pre-K. They start at pre-K and go through 8th grade. And in them, it's ELA and math. Okay. And if you're not familiar with the guides, I wish I don't have a screenshot up here of them. Is it open? Oh, here's one. Hold on. You'll be able to see. Oh, there we go. I know it's really hard to see, but they have the standard in there, and it's all parent-friendly terms. So there's a standard, and then it's the help at home piece. So it has strategies, it has little games and activities that they can do at home with their kids. And it's really good for parents to just understand what's expected of their children in that grade level. So I can go through this. My little boy's going into 4th grade. So I can go through the 4th grade one and see, okay, this is what's expected of him with his reading. This is what's expected of his math. And then when they're doing these things at school, these are some like fun activities I can do with him. It's also good for teachers. We've seen a lot of teachers. They are, yes, it's just what to say, Dr. Davis. They are on our website. And so we have a lot of teachers that go to the website and they just print the one that they're working on and they send it home with their homework. So not just for families, it's good for teachers too. So we want to get these out. We want to get these in your hands so you can get them in the hands of teachers and parents. So yes, please email me. Okay, so here are the links to that academic list that we were talking about and the behavior intervention list. The links are there. They're also, on our website. You can just go straight to our intervention page. Okay, so here are some things that we have updated. The teacher support team timeline, that's not updated, that's the same, and I'm going to show you a screenshot of that in just a second. The shared leadership checklist, we've provided that to you in the past. Something new that we just developed is the teacher support team teacher checklist, and I'm going to talk to you about that, and then the Tier 1 classroom instruction list. So first, this is something, it just breaks down month by month things that you should make sure you're doing in your TST meeting. So it just makes sure that you are getting kind of like getting everything checked off that list that you need to do as far as MTSS. So like for August, you've got to have your meeting on your MSIS kids. You've got to have that meeting within the first 20 days of school. And then it just goes through each one. I can send these out. When I send the email, I can just put it in the box and it'll come to you. So you'll all have it. This is not new. This is in the guidance document. It's in the back of the guidance document. So we've had this one for a while. Here is another one that I really like to have. So, and this may just be something that your interventionist has at the TST meeting, but it's just a checklist just to make sure you're covering all of the information that you need to on your students. It's just to go through and just make sure, yes, we discussed this, and this. And then like you see here, we have proof of meeting. It's just another documentation piece. I just think it has good reminders in there. Oh, I just saw that. There is not, let's see if it's editable. I think this timeline that I'm going to send you is in a Word document. So yeah, you could make changes to it. Same for this. It's in a Word document. So you can add to it. If you have other things that you want to make sure you cover, you can do that. Okay, this is a new one. So this is a teacher checklist. So this is something that you would want to give your teachers when they are coming to their first TST meeting. And I know a lot of districts, they have their data binders. So like this could be something that's at the front of that data binder. But just making sure, I'm not sure if the shared leadership checklist is in the guidance document. I want to say that may have come later. I don't know if it's in there or not, but I'll definitely send it to you today. It's not. So I'll definitely send it to you today. But this, like, we just want to make sure that your TST meetings are meaningful. Okay. We know we have, page 10. Thanks. We know that we have so much documentation and we're documenting to make sure that we're having the meeting. And we don't want you to just get caught up in, yes, we had the meeting, check. But making sure you're having those meaningful conversations. And so this is just a way to help your teachers be prepared for those meetings. So, making sure they're bringing current work samples. So you as the TST team can sit down, look at all the information, and make sure you're making the right decision. So I'm not going to read all those to you, but they're there, and I'll send that to you today. And then the other new form It's just evidence of differentiation. I just changed the format. I used to have this in my PowerPoint presentation that I did, but we just changed the format up a little bit. It's still essentially the same information. It's just a way for that classroom teacher to say, you know, I'm worried about a student. I think we need to have a TST meeting on the student. And it's a way for that teacher to document what she's been doing with the child. Because y'all know, especially if you're an interventionist, you know, teachers will come up to you and say, I'm worried about so-and-so. He can't read, you know, and so this is a way for them to show, yes, I'm worried, but these are all the things I've done and they're still not making progress. So it's just that little extra piece of information to help you as you're working with your kids. Okay, so that is the information that I'm going to share with you today, and we do have a few minutes left. Okay, so I see that, Geraldine, about adding you to the email list, and I have been adding and moving people around. So yes, if you are not on the list and you want to be added, let me know, and I'll get you added to that. Oh, I did have some emails come in with some questions that I did want to cover. Okay, one of the questions that we got is how long to keep your paperwork. And so that does change. That, sorry, y'all, I'm reading questions and I'm trying to answer this question. So I'm going to stop reading the questions right this minute and answer this question. How long to keep your paperwork? So for, like, generally speaking, we say 5 years to keep the paperwork. This specific question was about kids who've graduated. So, you know, I always think if they're in college and there's something in that paperwork that could help them and they come back and ask for it, you want to make sure that you have it. So if that means that you scan the information and keep it in a file, you can do that. If you have a place to store it, you can do that. I know it is so hard to keep that information for so long. I remember my cabinets were just full of paperwork. So that really is a district decision on how long you want to keep your paperwork, but generally the rule of thumb is 5 years. Okay, another question that we had was about a student who is 16, going to be 17, and he has repeated multiple grades, and this year he's going to be in the 8th grade. You know, there are no really interventions to show the work that has been occurring for this child. And, you know, the mom's like, you know, what do I do next? What are my next steps? So definitely conduct a MET meeting. So my recommendation was for the mother to request a MET meeting where they have to have that meeting within 14 days and look at the data. This child did go to summer school, so they'll have that information from summer school. They'll have that data to help them make a decision. And y'all know, those of you that know me and you've heard me speak, you know, to me, that's, we want to give that child and these children that support that they need so they can be successful. And so whether that is them having an IEP so they can have accommodations, or, you know, the least getting interventions so we can get them caught up and get them where they need to be on grade level so they can be successful. So I did want to mention that. Okay. Okay, so another question that I had was about our meetings that we're having. So these are monthly. Like I said at the beginning, we did take the summer off. We didn't have any meetings over the summer, but we will have these meetings the first Wednesday of every month. And so what we did last year was we had certain months where it was like this, where I was just covering general information. Other months we would have other people come in from other offices and share information. But it's really a time for us to keep you up to date on MTSS around the state and for you to ask your questions. So it's not mandatory. You know, if you're an MTSS contact and you're wondering, you know, if it's not mandatory. It's just a time for us to get together and make sure everybody's caught up. We will record all of the sessions. So like we're recording this session today. So we know, it's kind of like we have to pick a day and time. And so, but we know, that's not going to be a time that works for everybody. So that's why we record them and we send them out. So if you ever have to miss, don't worry, we'll get you caught up on the information. Okay. All right, let's see. So I've got some messages that rolled in. Okay, and I see your email addresses that want to be added, and I will get those added when we finish up. And you'll get a separate email that's from like MTSS Network, and it says you have now been added. So that way you'll know. So if you don't get that email, let me know. Yes, I'm going to email you all of the forms that we talked about today. The books that are in the set, so it's one pre-K, one K, so it's one of each grade level, pre-K through 8th grade. So if you want multiple sets, you just need to let me know. Or if you just want a certain grade level, let me know the grade level and how many. Okay, some of the interventions are web-based. Are we allowed to use the web-based interventions for Tier 3? In the past, we were not allowed to do this. Okay, good question. So yes, some of the programs are web-based, and so the guidance that we always provide is to pull out any of those pieces and have that one-on-one time. And most of them, when you go to the website and you look at the list that has all of the information, you'll see that it will say web-based with, printables, or web-based with, teacher components. So most of them do have a teacher component that you can pull in, because you're right, don't just, even at Tier 2, if it's web-based, you still need to pull in that teacher time and have them reading with you, where you're listening to them and making sure that they're making those connections. Good question. Yes. So if you have multiple people that need to be added, you just email me. I need their email addresses. So like, I don't need their full name. I just need email addresses, because that's how I plug it in. Yes, I will send out all the checklists. Okay, got that. Okay, so the policy for universal screening is written for K3. So if you've got 4th through 12th graders, the way that you screen, we have guidance on our website, and it says 4th through 12th screening guidance. You can use other data points. So like if you've got benchmark assessments that you use, if you have like your testing data that you have, from the end of last year, you can use that. A lot of our districts, they go ahead and screen everybody, or they screen through 8th grade. It's really up to you. It's not, like I said, it's not required 4th through 12th grade. And I just had a conversation with literacy a couple of weeks ago, where we're actually looking at the policy and making that adjustment, because at least 4th through 8, because with literacy in the state, our focus has been K3 for so long, and we've seen such gains, and now we're kind of ready to expand that. So that may be a change that you see coming. But for right now, required K3, 4th through 12th, you have more flexibility. Okay, so a question and answer document, yes, I can do that. And so what Tiffany's talking about is, last year I would take the questions that I received in emails, and I would have the questions and with my answer printed out and sent to you through email. So I can do that. I can start that again for this year, Tiffany. Okay. Yes, the monthly meetings are at 10. So we try to keep it real consistent. So it's the first Wednesday of every month at 10. So, and like I said, today, like the other 2 team members couldn't join us because they're doing a training. And Jada couldn't join us because she's trying to enjoy a little bit more of summertime before she gets back in the swing of things. So, and like I know last year I had to miss some for like doctor's appointments and stuff. So, normally our whole team is here, but if we have other things that have come up, you might just get 1 or 2 of us. But yeah, so we try to keep that real consistent. Okay, so progress monitoring. We've been using growth checks from iReady for Tier 2 math and reading. we're looking to do something else. What do you and the participants suggest, or are we using currently? Okay. So I'll say this, and then other people can type in and chime in for what y'all are using. I would try to have your progress monitoring match up with the deficit area. So if you're working on decoding skills, then you want your progress monitoring maybe is reading from a word list, or maybe it's reading a passage. If they're working on comprehension, then you want to use maybe some questions and have them go through and answer the questions. That's my recommendation. And, I recommend that on top of this. So even if you are using the progress monitoring that comes with the program, it's also good to touch base with those kids and do, maybe it's a fluency check from time to time. You want to make sure what they're learning, what the information they're gaining in their interventions is transitioning, it's transferring into their reading. That's the whole point. We want to make sure they're applying those skills to their classroom and to their reading. Okay, so if anybody else has something else they want to add, they can drop that in. Okay, good question, Michelle. The Tier 1 classroom instruction sheet, just recommended. If you already have something in place, you keep right on going. It's just a recommendation. It's just a helpful tool. So if you need it, use it. If you want to change it, change it. If you want to add other things, go ahead. If you see something on there that you think, oh, well, we don't need that, but we need this. That's why I'm sending it to you in a Word document. Feel free to make it fit your needs. Okay, for students that are on MTSS for failure, several for not attending distance learning, but attended summer school and passed. How do we handle those students? So go ahead, have that 20-day meeting because they are on your list. Go ahead, have that meeting, document it. And then I want to say they roll off the MTSS list once MTSS gets, they only do an update, I want to say once a month. So once September rolls around, they should roll off. But just in case, go ahead and make sure you have your meeting and you have that documentation. Okay. So your school interventionist for sure can be part of these calls. It's a great way for them to, get this information because, they're the leaders of the intervention at their school. So this is information that then they can turn around and share with their teachers. Okay, what are some screeners others may be using in high school? So if y'all want to drop any of those in to share. Okay. I hate to jump back, but I have a question about Tier 2. If a student was on Tier 2 at the end of the year, will they need to be on Tier 2 when they come back, or will we start them over with Tier 1 because they have a new teacher? It's really going to be up to your TST meeting. Y'all make that decision together, and you're going to want to make that decision on a case-by-case basis. It may be where you have them come back and they stay on Tier 2, you work with them for a little while, you see that, they've made adequate progress and you can move them down to Tier 1. I would caution you to moving them straight back to Tier 1 because they may need that initial support to get them going again with the school year. And especially with, all the issues from last year, they may need that initial support. So I would just tell you to case-by-case basis and look at the kids and see what you think that they're going to need. Okay, good question, Allison. Are there any specific requirements about who can deliver Tier 3? It can be a paraprofessional. It can, definitely a certified teacher, but it can also be an assistant teacher. So if you have an assistant teacher that is trained, that's one thing that is a very important piece. So that assistant teacher should go through the same trainings that the teachers or interventionists are going through. If they are expected to provide an intervention, they need to be trained in that intervention, okay? They don't have that same background of the teacher that they've gone through their university or college. So they need to go through that intervention training. That's so important. We know we have a lot of districts using paraprofessionals. My former district, we used paraprofessionals, and they were great intervention providers. But they sat right alongside the interventionist. When the interventionist got trained on the program, so did the assistant teachers. And so we were able to, trust that they were providing high quality interventions. Okay, let's see. All right, answer that. Okay, Cindy, I see your email. I see your email list. I'll get them added. Yes, Karen, the growth checks in iReady are not specific to the area you'll be intervening. That's right. It's really like an overview. So that's why it's good to jump in there and provide some progress monitoring that is specific. And the reason that you want to do that is you want to make sure that you're charting that growth of the intervention. You're charting the growth of that deficit area. That's why we do that. Okay, Rachel shared that they're going to implement cubed progress monitoring at K2. Thank you, Rachel. High school screeners. We use Achieve 3000. That gives you a lot of good information. Case 21. I'm familiar with that. Reading Plus. Case 21. STAR provides for algebra and ACT readiness. That's good to know. Okay, so some really good suggestions there. Okay, MTSS 20-day rosters are never 100% accurate. You're right. Do we need to add in all of the extra students who did not auto-populate? For example, a third grade student will not show up as a 20-day student if they failed the previous year unless the grade they repeated was the previous year. Okay, so I'm going to kind of break down what Michelle's saying. So let's say you have a third grader who was a kindergarten repeater. He is not going to populate on your MTSS list because he didn't repeat the year before. He repeated several years ago, so he's not going to be on your list. So, Michelle, that's what I always did. I had my teachers, I had a form that I gave all of my classroom teachers, and they had to go, they're going through their KEAMS anyway. So as they're going through their KEAMS, they're finding any kids who previously repeated. So if they don't know already, they're finding their kids who previously repeated. They're giving that list to me, and then we're having a 20-day meeting on them. As far as putting that information in MTSS, that's not required. What's required is the list that they gave you. But as far as your documentation piece, I always met on those kids who were previous repeaters. And this is why. We had, it says we have 5 minutes left. Okay, I'm going to get there. Okay, so we had a first grader who, it was March, April, and the first grade teacher came to me as the school interventionist and said, this kid's not going to pass. And so I said, okay, well, let's look at his data. And she went and pulled the scheme, and sure enough, he was a kindergarten repeater. So here he was, a kindergarten repeater, and now he's about to repeat first grade. Like, we don't want that to happen. So it's better for you to go ahead and know your students who are repeaters in the past, so you can have a plan for them, and they're on your radar. You want them to be on your radar for the year. Okay. All right. Are others treating your new fourth graders who did not pass the gate as a 20-day student? That's a good question. And let me tell you this, and I just got a message. I'm meeting with the literacy team here at MDE to talk about the guidance for those specific students. So you are going to get additional guidance on those kiddos coming very soon from us. Stephanie, parents do not need to attend the 20-day student meeting. That's just a time for you to meet with the new teacher, check in with them, see how they're doing, see if they were receiving Tier 3 in the past, if they need to continue those supports, if they weren't, if you need to add them to supports. then you notify the parents that you had the meeting. And then after that, you can invite them to the following TST meetings. But I wouldn't invite them to your 20-day meetings. Those are usually, you're sitting in your principal's office and you're pulling teachers in and you're meeting on those kiddos. So I would definitely invite them to the follow-up, but not the 20-day. Okay, one of our K4 schools shows 12 students on the auto-populated list. We actually have over 150 20-day students at that school. Okay, so you may want to have your teachers come in. So have that teacher come in and have her list of kids that she has and talk about them right then. Okay, so like let's say Miss Bishop down the hall has 12 of those kids on her list. Well, when Miss Bishop comes in, she needs to be ready to talk about all 12. Okay, that may help cut down on some of that time. Okay, for high school, how do we know how to add other students to MTSS during the year if they're not referred by a teacher? Should we be looking at failing grades? Yes, that's a good question. You want to look at their grades. You want to look at attendance. You want to look at how they've performed previously on state tests. If you're having benchmarks given, periodically, how are they performing on benchmarks? And so that way you can, reach out to the counselor, reach out to the teacher and set up a meeting. And, it's like you're just touching base. How are they doing? We haven't identified them, but do we need to have a TST meeting on them? Okay, so clarifying adding Tier 3 students to MSIS who do not populate. So you're going to get that MSIS list that you have to meet on for the first 20 days of school. You're also going to have kids who have repeated in the past that you are going to want to have a TST meeting on. So they don't necessarily fall under the criteria of a 20-day meeting, but I had my initial TST meeting right when I was having my 20-day meetings. So I could go ahead and get all of that taken care of in August, at the end of August. So then I was ready to start my interventions, right away, whether that was September or if that was at the end of August. I'm going to give y'all, we're going to do some follow-up trainings on MSIS. I know a lot of y'all are going to have to jump off in just a second, but and I want to make sure, let me say this before you have to go. So with MSIS, if you have students throughout the year that are moving to Tier 3, you want to add them to MSIS. So even though they didn't populate on that 20-day list, let's say it's October and the teacher comes to you and she wants to add those kids to add them for a Tier 3 intervention, they need to be on the MSIS list. So we're going to provide you with more guidance with that. That's just me making sure I make that statement, but we'll give you more guidance. I'll put that on my list for September. Okay. We now have dyslexia therapists hired. Do we have suggestions on how we need to code progress monitoring and skills? Yes. And I had somebody reach out with that same question, Cindy. So let me get that information together for you. And I'll send that to you. Because that does look a little bit differently if you're doing dyslexia therapy, how to progress monitor that. So I'll send that to you. Okay, that's always the question. 20-day meetings based on school days or calendar days, and I'm pretty sure it's calendar days. Okay, so it's from the first day of school, you have 20 days. I'll make sure. I'll put that in my email to you, unless somebody knows. Okay, hold on. 20-day calendar for school. I'll find out. I'll put that in the email. Okay. All right. I'm going to read this one, then I'm going to jump back up here. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the 20-day students don't necessarily have to be placed in Tier 2 or Tier 3. You're exactly right, Tiffany. You've got a kid that populates on the 20-day MSIS list. You have the meeting. You have the parents, not the parents. You have the teachers come in. You're looking at the data. They're doing good. Let's say they are a repeater from the previous year. They've got the information that they need. They're already being successful. Then you put them on tier 1 and you're going to observe them. Like, you're just going to touch base with that teacher and make sure that they are getting the instruction that they need and that they're progressing. So if at any time they don't show progress, then you can add them to an intervention. Okay. Yes, that's something you decide in your TST meeting. Yes, you're going to review all that new data. Yes, and you may just want to put them in tier 2, or you may want to put them in tier 1. Okay. The whole point of that is to make sure you have a meeting on them. You're checking in, making sure you're okay. They're okay. What I did with my 20-day kids, if we moved them to tier 1, I just checked on them, like during my TST time. I would say, oh yeah, well, how's Michael doing? So he's still doing good, touching base. Yes, okay, Miss McNair, I think I answered your question. Yes, so if we're adding students to tier 3 throughout the year, yes, you add them to MTSS, and we will give you more information on that. We'll walk you through the page, and if you don't want to wait for that, we have an MTSS video that Ginger did last year on the website, and so it may answer some of those questions too. Okay, y'all. I know we're out of time, so if you have to jump off, but I'm going to keep recording, so if you miss anything, you'll get it in the video. Along with providing intervention strategies to students who fail the screener, should we add them to tier 2 or tier 3? Okay, yes, so that's just another data piece, okay? So you look at your universal screener data, look at your dyslexia screener data, and look at how they're performing in the classroom, okay? So these additional pieces, it's just more information to help you make your decision. So it's not a requirement. If you have a kid who fails, let's say he fails the dyslexia screener, he's doing good in the classroom, he did okay on the universal screener, then you might just want to make a note of it and, make sure that teacher is aware and they're providing supports. If you have a kid who failed the dyslexia screener in kindergarten, he's failed it again in first grade, he did poorly on his universal screener, then you may want to look at adding interventions. So like I said, it's just another piece of the pie. Okay. Okay, Allison, yes, I will add you to that list for Cindy about the progress monitoring. If you want that additional information about the progress monitoring for dyslexia therapy, let me know and I'll send it to you. Okay, if a tier 3 student is also a SPED student, we do not have to put them in MTSS, correct? Let me check. Okay, I don't want to tell you the wrong thing. I want to say one thing, but I'm not 100% sure. So I'm going to check before I say. And I'll send that in my email to let you know for sure. All right. Oh, it jumped on me. Okay, Vicki. About the 20-day students, about MTSS. So if they are if you have a teacher that wants to move a child to tier 3, let's say in the middle of the year, let's say January, well, they have not previously been identified. They didn't populate on the 20-day list. They still need to be added into MTSS. And there's a way to do that in the MTSS screen. So we'll give you that additional information. Okay. All right. I'm writing down your names for the dyslexia progress monitoring. I got Miss Jameson. I got Tracy. Okay. Cheryl. All right. Okay. I'm just going to send it to everybody. Okay. Because it looks like a lot of you need it. So I'll just add it. I'll add it to my email. Make sure everybody gets it. Okay. Let's see, y'all. Since I've got an unread message, I don't want to miss anything. Okay. Okay, here we go. Karen knew the answer. SPED students cannot be added unless they are speech language only. Thank you, Karen. Okay. All right, y'all. I'm going to stop the recording.